The moment Owen's small fingers clamped onto Bryant's silk tie, Il Voluto Nero fell into a silence so sharp, it felt like the whole room had stopped breathing. Glasses froze midair. Voices died mid-sentence. Even the waitstaff stiffened, as though someone had shut off the power. The boy's hand shook violently, but he didn't let go. This 7-year-old body looked impossibly tiny beside the man whose tie he now held like a lifeline. His knuckles turned bone white, yet his eyes, wide, wet, terrified, held a spark that didn't break. "Your guys almost killed my mom last night." The sentence cracked through the restaurant like a gunshot. Bryant, impeccable suit, unreadable expression, had been mid-discussion with 3 senior associates. Their reactions were immediate and dangerous. One shifted his stance, one reached subtly toward his jacket, and the third inhaled sharply as if preparing for violence. But Bryant himself didn't move. His gaze lowered slowly to the child staring up at him. Not anger, not confusion. Something colder, something calculating. The soft background strings kept playing, painfully out of place, while Owen's thin chest rose and fell in panicked bursts. The entire room watched, horrified, fascinated. A child grabbing the tie of the city's most feared figure was not an event people survived. Bryant finally spoke. "Say it again." Owen swallowed hard. "Your guys almost killed my mom. I saw the car. I saw their faces." His voice trembled but didn't fall apart. A ripple moved through the room. Not one man in that building had ever dared speak to Bryant like that. Not one man had ever touched him without permission. And yet this 7-year-old had walked in from the street and seized him. Bryant's eyes flicked over the boy. Worn jacket, scraped knuckles, dirt under fingernails. But beneath all that, fear so sharp it looked like it was carved into him, and something else. Willpower. "You walked here alone?" Bryant asked. Owen nodded. 17 blocks. One associate muttered, "Boss, he might be lying." Bryant raised a single finger. The man cut off instantly. This gesture told everyone something chilling. Bryant wasn't dismissing the boy. He was listening. The tension thickened as Bryant leaned a fraction closer. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply asked, "Which of my men?" Owen hesitated, and in that hesitation, the first unanswered question cracked open. Whose face did he see? Why target his mother? What did she witness? But Owen forced the words out. "2 men in a black car. I remember the plate numbers." That stopped Bryant cold. A second loop snapped open. How did a 7-year-old memorize a plate in the dark? What exactly did he see? And why did he look like someone had warned him never to speak? Bryant's jaw tightened, not at the boy, but at the implication behind his words. Someone had moved without approval. Someone had violated the chain of command. A third loop grew. Why wasn't Bryant angry at the child? Why this unnatural calm? What was he planning? And right there, when Owen revealed the plate number and Bryant realized someone had acted behind his back, the first major reveal hit. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this channel, because what happens next changes everything. Bryant stood up abruptly, the legs of his chair scraping across the polished floor like a warning. His associates backed away. Owen stayed rooted where he was, still gripping the tie until Bryant gently unclasped his fingers. But Bryant didn't release him entirely. He kept a steady hold on the boy's wrist. Not rough, not gentle. Purposeful. "You're going to show me," Bryant said quietly. Owen blinked. "Show you what?" "The car." Bryant lowered his voice. "And if what you're saying is true, the men who touched your mother will answer to me." The room's air changed. Not relief, not fear, something far more volatile. Bryant guided the boy toward the door with a hand on his shoulder. No one dared move. No one dared breathe. When the doors swung shut behind them, whispers erupted like smoke. Who had gone rogue? Why attack a kitchen worker? And why was Bryant personally walking a child into the night? Outside, beneath flickering streetlights, Bryant crouched so he could look Owen directly in the eyes. "Point the way." The boy lifted a trembling finger, and without another word, Bryant began walking beside him into the dark. The night air hit Owen like a slap, cold, sharp, too real. But Bryant's hand stayed steady on his shoulder as they stepped away from Il Voluto Nero's golden glow and into the quieter, darker street. Owen kept glancing up at him, as if trying to decide whether he had just saved himself or signed his own death warrant. Bryant didn't look back. His stride was purposeful, every step controlled, every breath calculated. "Where did you see them?" he asked. Owen lifted a shaky hand. "By the corner, near the alley behind the bakery." Bryant nodded once and started walking. His men hurried behind them, unsure whether to be terrified or impressed. No one could remember the last time Bryant stepped outside personally for anyone, much less a child. They crossed 2 blocks in silence. Owen rubbed his palms against his jeans, trying to stop them from shaking. At one point he whispered, "My mom told me never to come here." "I'm sure she did," Bryant replied. It wasn't comforting, just factual. As they approached the bakery, something changed in Bryant's posture. He slowed. His eyes sharpened. A tension settled into his shoulders that even Owen could feel. There, under the dim streetlight, sat a black sedan. Same model, same shape, same dark tint. Owen grabbed Bryant's sleeve. "That's it," he breathed. "That's the car." Bryant didn't move. He simply studied the vehicle the way a surgeon studies an incision point. One of his men whispered, "Boss, we don't know whose car that even." Bryant raised his hand. Silence. Owen stepped closer, little fist balled, breath trembling. He pointed at the plate. "That number, I saw it. They stopped right next to my mom when she was leaving work." This was the moment Bryant wanted. The verification point. He turned slightly, eyes cold. "You're certain?" Owen nodded. "I remember every number." Bryant let out a slow exhale, almost too soft to hear, but it carried a weight that made even his own men shift uncomfortably. Someone didn't follow protocol. Someone acted without permission. Someone crossed a line that should have been unbreakable. He tapped his phone once. A driver stepped forward immediately, awaiting orders like a soldier bracing for impact. "Run the plates," Bryant said. "Find out who was using this car last night, where they went, and who authorized it." The driver vanished into the dark with the urgency of someone who knew delay meant danger. Bryant looked down at Owen again, not cruelly, just intensely. "You did good remembering that." Owen swallowed. Will you help her?" Bryant didn't answer immediately. He looked back at the car, jaw set, eyes sharpening with purpose. Then he said, "We're not done here, and neither are the men who use this." A vibration buzzed in his pocket. The driver's call. Bryant answered without breaking eye contact with Owen. A beat. Another. Then his expression shifted, barely, but enough to say everything. He ended the call. "Kid, we're going to your mother next." Owen's breath hitched. Her. They found her. Bryant placed a hand on the boy's back, guiding him toward the waiting car. "Get in. Now." No threat. No softness. Just urgency. The engine roared to life as they pulled away, leaving the black sedan under the dim streetlight like an accusation. And the hunt for the truth had officially begun. The car moved fast, weaving through late-night streets that smelled of rain and diesel. Owen hugged himself in the back seat, pressing his forehead against the cool window. His breath kept fogging the glass. He didn't wipe it away. Bryant sat beside him, elbows on his knees, staring straight ahead. For a man known for absolute control, he looked like he was holding back a storm. "How long has your mom worked at Il Voluto Nero?" he asked. Owen hesitated. "A few months, only in the kitchen. She doesn't do anything wrong." Bryant didn't react. He didn't need to. His silence carried weight. The driver took a sharp left, and the city's neon signs gave way to dimmer industrial blocks. Owen shivered. "Is she okay?" he whispered. "We'll know in a few minutes." Bryant's tone was steady, but Owen could sense something under it, something close to urgency. Another man in the front seat turned slightly. "Boss, you think she saw something last night? Maybe she heard." Bryant cut him off. "If she had, I would have been informed." Owen looked up at that. You know my mom?" Bryant didn't answer immediately. He shifted his gaze to the boy, eyes steady. "I know everyone who works in my spaces, especially the ones who try to stay unnoticed." Owen swallowed. He remembered his mother warning him never to talk to certain customers, never to look too long, never to ask questions. Mom said the kitchen is the safest place, he murmured. The kitchen, Bryant replied, is where people think they're invisible. He leaned back slightly, and for the first time, Owen saw something change in his expression, recognition, a memory surfacing. Your mother, Bryant said quietly, used to work somewhere else, years ago, for someone who owed me a debt. Owen's head snapped up. What debt? Bryant didn't elaborate. He just muttered, she didn't deserve to be dragged back into old business. Owen didn't fully understand, but the tone made his stomach twist. His mom had always avoided certain names, certain neighborhoods, certain hours. Maybe this was why. The car slowed. They weren't at home, or the restaurant, or anywhere familiar. A long row of abandoned warehouses stretched ahead, windows boarded, metal doors rusted. The driver spoke into his earpiece. Boss, this is the location tied to the plates. Bryant's jaw locked. He turned to Owen. Stay close to me. Don't run ahead. Don't fall behind. Owen nodded, but his knees shook as he slid out of the car. The air was colder here, too quiet, like the place didn't want to be found. Bryant led the way, his stride controlled, his gaze scanning shadows with practiced precision. His men fanned out behind them, hands near weapons but not drawing yet. Owen's heart pounded as they approached a metal side door hanging slightly open. A faint flicker of light seeped through the gap. Bryant raised a hand. Everyone froze. He bent down to Owen's height. You see anything that scares you, you tell me. Don't keep it to yourself. Owen nodded, fighting tears. I just want my mom. A voice crackled through one of Bryant's radios. Boss, we found signs of movement inside. And something else. Bryant didn't wait for more. He pushed the door open with his palm and stepped into darkness. The warehouse swallowed them instantly. Cool air, distant dripping, and the faint smell of dust and damp fabric. Owen clutched Bryant's sleeve, then a sound cut through the stillness. A muffled gasp. Faint, weak. Owen's entire body froze. I know that sound, he whispered the words like a prayer. That's her. Bryant gave a single nod. Then let's finish this. And with that, they moved deeper into the shadows, toward the truth, the danger, and the woman who held secrets even her son didn't know. The deeper they walked into the warehouse, the colder the air became. Each step echoed off concrete and metal, bouncing through the hollow space like a warning. Owen's grip on Bryant's sleeve tightened until his fingers ached. Bryant raised a silent hand. His men froze behind him. No one breathed too loudly. A single lamp flickered in the center of the warehouse, casting shaky shadows across the floor. And below it, Owen saw a shape, small, curled, still. His stomach dropped. Mom? He tried to run, but Bryant's arm shot out and blocked him. Wait. Bryant moved forward first, slow and controlled, his steps deliberate. His eyes scanned every corner, ceiling beams, catwalks, blind spots, while Owen trembled at his side. When they reached the center of the room, the truth hit them all at once. Cynthia lay on the floor, wrists tied behind her, hair matted, uniform soaked from something spilled across the concrete. Her face was pale, lips trembling with shallow breaths, but she was alive. Owen dropped to his knees instantly. Mom, I'm here, wake up! She stirred faintly. A weak sound slipped out, barely audible. Bryant knelt beside her, expression darkening. Not with rage, but with something colder, more dangerous. He touched her face lightly, checking her pulse, checking for fractures. She's breathing, he said, but she's been handled badly. Handled. A word Owen didn't fully understand, but it terrified him anyway. Two of Bryant's men stepped forward, but he snapped his fingers, stopping them mid-step. Not yet. His voice was low, but everyone felt the force behind it. Footsteps suddenly echoed from the far side of the warehouse. Two men. Nervous, hoping to slip away unnoticed, Bryant looked over his shoulder. No one leaves. The two men froze like statues caught in a spotlight. Their eyes darted between Bryant, the boy, and Cynthia on the ground. One of them swallowed hard. Boss, we didn't know you'd be here. That's the problem, Bryant said. His tone cut deeper than a shout ever could. Owen shook Cynthia gently as tears blurred his vision. "Mom, wake up. I came to get you, please." She managed to open her eyes just a sliver. When she saw Bryant, her breath hitched in panic. Not confusion, recognition. Bryant noticed. He leaned closer to her. "Who told you to come here last night?" Her lips trembled. Garrett." Owen stiffened. The two guards stiffened. Bryant didn't move at all. "He said he needed help," she whispered. "Said something was leaking in the storage unit. I didn't know." Her voice cracked. "He lied." Bryant's jaw clenched so tightly Owen heard the faint grind of teeth. He turned to his men. "Bring the two who brought her here forward." They shoved the trembling henchman into the center of the floor. One of them blurted, "We didn't mean to go that far. Garrett said it was just to scare her." "Scare her?" Bryant stood slowly. His stillness was more frightening than any shout. "She works in my kitchen. She follows the rules. She knows nothing." The henchmen's faces drained of color. Bryant stepped closer. "So why?" he asked softly. "Was she touched at all?" They stared at the ground. "Answer me." Finally, one stammered. "Garrett. He said she insulted him weeks ago. Said she needed to be reminded of her place." You followed him," Bryant finished. "But not me." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Even the shadows felt afraid to move. Owen's voice trembled. "Mr. Bryant, what does that mean?" "It means someone broke the chain," Bryant answered. "And when my chain breaks, people get hurt who shouldn't be anywhere near this life." He took out his phone, dialed a number, spoke with the precision of someone issuing a protocol he had memorized for emergencies. "Locate Garrett. Bring him in. No delays." He hung up. Owen's entire body shivered. His mother weakly reached for his hand. Her fingers were cold. Bryant knelt again beside them. "You're safe now. I'm here." But behind that promise was something simmering, something ready to explode. Garrett had crossed a line. And Bryant's next move would decide who left this warehouse alive. The warehouse felt heavier now, like the air itself knew something irreversible was coming. Bryant stood over Cynthia, arms crossed, gaze locked on the two trembling henchmen, but his mind wasn't on them anymore. It was on one name. Garrett. The sound of Cynthia's barely there whisper replayed in his head. The man had used Bryant's network, Bryant's cars, Bryant's people, without permission. That alone demanded punishment. But hurting someone who wasn't part of this world? That was a direct strike at everything Bryant controlled. A phone buzzed. His driver stepped forward. "Boss, we have Garrett." Bryant didn't turn around. "Alive?" "Yes." "Good. Bring him to me." The driver left. Bryant finally looked down at Owen, who knelt at his mother's side. The boy's eyes were swollen, cheeks streaked with silent tears. "You stay with her," Bryant said. His tone was steady, too steady. Minutes later, hurried footsteps echoed. Two of Bryant's men dragged Garrett into the light. The man looked disheveled, confused, and nervous for the first time in his life. "Boss, listen," Garrett began. Bryant didn't give him the chance. "Why was she touched?" His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Garrett blinked rapidly. "What? Her? She brought this on herself." "Explain," Bryant said. One word, flat, sharp. Garrett swallowed. "She overheard something, a private call, mine. And she gave me an attitude about it last week. Told me to watch my tone, like I was some kind of nobody. So I sent a reminder." Owen flinched at the word. Garrett barely noticed him. Bryant stepped closer. "So you used a company car. 2 men under my payroll, during work hours. Without clearing it, to settle a personal grudge?" Garrett's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Boss, it wasn't like that exactly. It was exactly like that," Bryant said. His men stiffened. They knew that tone. It was the tone he used when he decided someone no longer existed. Garrett lifted both hands. "Look, she's fine. She's not dead. I didn't mean for it to go that far." Bryant didn't blink. "You think this is about whether she died?" Garrett's face twisted. "Well, isn't it?" That was the moment everything changed. The moment Bryant's calm cracked. Only slightly, but enough to send fear rushing through every man in the warehouse. "No," Bryant said slowly. This is about you breaking the order. Owen looked up, confused. Order, what does that mean? Bryant didn't look at him. He kept his focus locked on Garrett. It means, he said, that the men who work under me do not act without my word. Garrett's breath hitched. Boss, come on, she's just some kitchen staff. Nobody. Owen stood up sharply. She's not nobody, his voice cracked, but it carried more force than he knew. Garrett glanced at him with annoyance. Like the child was an inconvenient interruption, Bryant saw it, and something darkened in his eyes. Cynthia weakly lifted her head. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Please don't hurt him. He's got a son. Bryant turned toward her, not angry, not sympathetic, just focused. He hurt you, Bryant said. He hurt my chain. Cynthia shook her head faintly. I don't want more blood because of me. Bryant exhaled through his nose. A slow, heavy breath. You're not the reason, Cynthia. He pointed at Garrett. He is. Garrett took one step backward. Wait, boss. Bryant lifted his hand, not toward Garrett, toward his men. A silent signal. A signal everyone recognized instantly. The henchman who had brought Garrett in stepped forward. Garrett began shaking his head. No, boss, I can fix this. I'll apologize. I'll make it right. You already made it wrong, Bryant said. Owen watched, heart pounding. He didn't fully understand the adult words, but he understood what was happening. Garrett wasn't getting out of this room. Bryant turned to his driver. Move him, Garrett screamed. Not words, noise. Raw panic as he was dragged away toward the back exit of the warehouse. Owen clutched his mother's hand, trembling. Cynthia whispered, Don't look, baby. But Owen couldn't look away. He stared at Bryant, at the man who could have killed him back at the restaurant, but didn't. A man who was now rearranging his own world because of something done to a kitchen worker. Garrett's screams faded into the distance, swallowed by the night, then silence returned. Bryant crouched beside Owen and Cynthia again. His expression is calmer now, resolved. It's done, he said. No one else will touch her. But behind that promise, a deeper truth settled in. This wasn't over, because eliminating Garrett wasn't the end of the betrayal. It was just the beginning of the cleanup. Garrett's screams faded into the cold night, but the warehouse didn't feel safer. If anything, the air thickened. Like everyone was waiting for Bryant's next move. Owen held his mother's hand tightly. Her eyes fluttered open and closed. Fighting exhaustion. She kept trying to sit up, but her body refused to cooperate. Easy, Bryant said quietly. He wasn't looking at her. He was watching the two remaining henchmen near the wall. The ones who had followed Garrett here. The ones who were now frozen in place, sweat dripping down their temples. Bryant rose slowly. Every inch of movement is deliberate, controlled. You too, he said. His tone didn't rise, but it carried across the entire warehouse. Come here. They exchanged a terrified glance before moving forward. Short steps, careful steps. The first one opened his mouth. Boss, Stop. Bryant's hand lifted a fraction. The man fell silent instantly. Owen watched, pulse hammering. He didn't like the way they looked at his mother. Guilty, nervous, ashamed. He didn't like the way they avoided looking at Bryant altogether. Bryant circled them once, not fast, just enough to make them sweat harder. You followed Garrett's order, Bryant said. You touched someone who works under my roof. Boss, we didn't know it was like that, one stammered. You didn't ask. The words were flat, hard. The second man swallowed. Garrett said it was approved. Bryant stopped in front of them. Did you verify that? Silence. That was their answer. Bryant's jaw tensed. Barely. But that tiny shift was enough to make both men step back. They knew that look. It meant they might not leave the warehouse standing. Owen forced himself to speak. His voice came out small, shaky. They hurt my mom. Both men flinched. Cynthia tried to hush Owen, but he kept going. You shouldn't have touched her. She didn't do anything. The second henchman's eyes glistened. We didn't mean to. We just followed orders. Bryant turned his head slowly toward Owen. Then toward Cynthia. Then back to the men. That excuse, he said, belongs to people who don't survive. The men dropped to their knees, not by choice, by fear. Bryant motioned to his driver without looking away from them. A subtle gesture. barely noticeable. But the driver understood immediately. He stepped back, pulled out his phone, and made a short, quiet call. Not to punish these men, not yet. This call was for something else. A safety detail, a relocation order, for Cynthia and Owen. Owen didn't understand the words whispered through the phone, but he understood the tone. It felt like a door closing on their old life. Bryant finally crouched beside Cynthia again. "You know why this happened?" he asked her softly. Tears formed in her eyes. "Because I couldn't keep my head down enough?" "No." Bryant shook his head once. "Because someone under me forgot the rules. And you paid for it." Owen squeezed her hand harder. "Mr. Bryant is fixing it." Cynthia's breaths turned shaky. She looked at Bryant with a mixture of relief and dread. "You're not going to hurt them in front of him, are you?" Bryant didn't answer right away. He looked at the kneeling men, shaking, pale, unable to lift their heads. "No," he finally said. "Not here." Owen exhaled in relief. The kneeling men exhaled, too soon. Bryant added, "But they won't work for me anymore." The men's shoulders slumped in defeat. They understood the hidden meaning behind those words, and that silent sentence was more final than any gunshot. The warehouse filled with static from a walkie. One of Bryant's scouts whispered through it. "Boss, vehicle approaching. It's ours." "Good." "The extraction team." Bryant stood. "Get Cynthia ready to move," he ordered. "Carefully. If she's hurt further, you answer to me." His men rushed to help, lifting her gently. Owen stayed glued to her side. As they walked toward the exit, Owen looked back at Bryant. "Are they going to keep hurting people?" Bryant met his gaze. "No, I'm ending this." The conviction in his voice sent a chill down Owen's spine, but also relief, because for the first time since last night, he believed it. The extraction vehicle stopped outside with a low rumble. Doors opened. Boots hit the ground. Bryant's most trusted team entered the warehouse with precision, quiet, fast, purposeful. Owen clung to Cynthia's arm as they lifted her gently. She winced but didn't cry out. Her eyes kept drifting toward the men who had hurt her, then to Bryant, as if trying to understand why he was doing any of this for her at all. Bryant didn't look at her yet. His attention was locked on the two kneeling henchmen. They hadn't moved an inch since the earlier command. They knew one wrong twitch could seal their fate. "Stand up," Bryant said. They rose slowly, legs shaking. "You followed a man who wasn't authorized to lead," he said, voice low. "You used my space, my car, my time, for his agenda." Neither man dared speak. Owen watched from beside his mother, feeling a strange mix of fear and justice gnawing in his chest. Bryant stepped closer to them, shoes scraping against the concrete. "You didn't verify the order. You didn't check with me, and because of that." He glanced at Cynthia. "She nearly died." The second henchman tried to speak. "Boss, please." "Look at her," Bryant said, not loud, sharp. They looked. Cynthia, barely standing, leaning on two of Bryant's men. Her face swollen, her breath shallow, her son gripping her hand like he was afraid she'd vanish. Shame hit them hard. Owen saw it in their shoulders, their bowed heads, their shaking fingers. Bryant exhaled once. "It's not just the damage you caused," he paused. "It's the message you sent, one that didn't come from me." He lifted a single finger, a gesture, quiet, final. His men approached the two henchmen, not with weapons drawn, but with the firm grip of people who had done this many times. "Take them," Bryant said. "Not here." The henchmen didn't resist. They knew their fate was already sealed. They were led out through a side door, steps slow, heads down, the tension of consequences trailing behind them. Owen watched until they disappeared. He didn't look away, even when his stomach twisted. Bryant noticed. "You didn't need to see that," Bryant murmured. Owen wiped his face with the back of his hand. "They hurt her." Bryant nodded. "That's why they won't hurt anyone else." The extraction team helped Cynthia toward the exit. She staggered once, and Bryant instinctively reached out, steadying her elbow before he even realized he'd moved. Cynthia looked at him, breath shaky. "You didn't have to come here yourself." Bryant held her gaze. "I did." There was something loaded in that answer, something she understood, even in her weakened state. As they reached the warehouse entrance, Bryant's phone rang. A short vibration, a signal. He answered with one word. What? A brief pause. Then a voice on the other end confirmed it. Garrett's handled, as you requested. Bryant's expression didn't change. Not satisfaction, not regret, just certainty. He hung up. The final string tied off. Owen stared at him, wide-eyed. Is he gone? Bryant kneeled so he was eye to eye with the boy. Yes. He didn't soften it. He didn't make it sound nicer. Kids know when adults lie, so he didn't. Owen nodded slowly. His throat tightened, but he didn't cry. Not this time. Bryant stood and faced his team. Get them to the safe location, then secure her apartment. No one gets near them unless I say so. Yes, sir. They guided Cynthia and Owen into the car. Bryant walked behind them, silent, unreadable. Just as they were about to close the door, the driver paused. Boss, anything else? Bryant looked at the boy, then at Cynthia. Yes, he said. His voice carried the kind of weight that shifted futures. From this moment on, they're under my protection. The door shut. The car pulled away into the night, and Bryant stayed standing in front of the warehouse, hands in his pockets, watching until their taillights disappeared. For the first time in years, his rules had been tested. And for the first time in years, someone utterly innocent had forced him to rearrange everything he thought was immovable. The ride to the safe location felt unreal. Owen stayed pressed against Cynthia's side, afraid she might slip away if he loosened his grip. She rested her head against his, breathing slowly, her exhaustion settling deep. Bryant's men drove in silence. No music, no small talk. Only the steady hum of tires on asphalt, and the constant awareness that danger hadn't fully passed, only shifted. They arrived at a quiet building tucked between closed storefronts, not fancy, not obvious, just safe. Cynthia was carried inside and laid carefully on a clean bed. Owen refused to leave her side until one of Bryant's men placed a blanket over him. You're both secure here, the man said. He made sure of it. Bryant? Owen asked. The man nodded. Owen felt a strange warmth in his chest, something like relief, something like disbelief. Bryant didn't owe them anything, but he was still fighting for them. Hours later, when Cynthia could stand with help, Bryant arrived. Quietly, without guards. Cynthia stiffened when she saw him, instinctively stepping in front of Owen. He noticed, but didn't push past it. He stayed a few feet away, hands in his pockets, completely calm. You're safe now, he said. It wasn't comforting, but it was final. A decision already carved in stone. Cynthia lowered her gaze. I didn't want trouble. I never wanted to be part of anything involving you. I know, Bryant replied. You tried to leave it behind. Her breath caught. So you remember me. I remember everyone who walks away clean, he said. You were one of them. Owen looked between them, confused, but sensing something complicated in their shared history. He stepped forward. Thank you for helping my mom. Bryant looked down at him. Those dark, controlled eyes softened by a fraction. You earned it, Owen blinked. Me? You walked 17 blocks to find me, Bryant said. That takes a kind of bravery most grown men don't have. Cynthia's eyes watered. He shouldn't have had to. No, Bryant said. And that's why things are different now. He turned to leave, but something small caught his eye. On the floor near the doorway, a single gray button, torn from his shirt during the chaos in the warehouse. Cynthia must have brushed against it. She picked it up and held it out to him. This is yours. Bryant glanced at the button, then at her hand. He didn't take it. Keep it, he said, because now we both have something that doesn't belong to us. Cynthia stared at him, speechless. Owen watched, not fully grasping the meaning, but feeling it anyway. Bryant stepped outside, pausing only long enough to give his team a final order. Take them home tomorrow, upgrade the locks, replace every broken thing. And after that, his driver asked. Bryant looked toward the distant streets, jaw tight with quiet resolve. They won't need to worry about anyone coming near them again. He didn't say how. He didn't need to. A week later, in a quiet industrial block far from danger, a new laundromat opened. A small sign hung above the glass door, the Lingerette. The owner listed on the documents, Cynthia, fully paid for, untraceable gift. Owen stood with his mother in front of it, staring in awe. How did this happen? He whispered. Cynthia's voice cracked with emotion. A promise, paid in full. If you enjoyed the story, like and subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from. Thank you for watching.